I want to start in Proverbs chapter 22, and I want to look at verse 17. Or it said that he writes this book, and if those of you all who are interested in, you're saying, if you would say, Bishop, where do you start at if you want to have time with God, you want to have devotion, prayer time, what's a good place to start? And I would suggest to you that every day read a chapter from Proverbs. There are 31 days for the most part in every month. And if you read a chapter of Proverbs every day, I think it's a great place, great place for you all to develop if you desire to have a time prayer life where you're trying to work on, some devotion time. So Solomon is the writer of this book of Proverbs, and he's the wisest man other than Jesus Christ that it is said to have lived. Now, I don't know if there are others who have come after him, but during this day and time, he is the wisest man. And his wisdom has not just been gained through experience and education, but his wisdom has really been given to him by God. He's the second king, or rather the third king of Israel. He's following his father David, and he is responsible for building the temple. But Solomon has a challenge in that it seems to be that Solomon gets the lesson after he experiences the pain. Now, there are those of you all who are on this Zoom call, you can attest to the fact that in many cases, we are like that. There are a lot of things we didn't learn until after we went through the pain. In fact, about it, the psalmist said that it was good for me that I had been afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. And so Solomon writes this book of Proverbs empowered with wisdom by God, but as well as through experience in life. And he writes and he shares lessons that he's learned. But he also writes in this book about principles that we should govern our lives by. He gives us all kind of little nuggets, stuff like a soft word turns away wrath. Solomon says, when he says a soft word turns away wrath, what he's talking about is that sometimes your tone can keep down the trouble. Sometimes just your tone can keep down the trouble. So he gives us stuff like that. He also reveals to us some real theological truths that are, as it relates to our faith in God. One of the famous scriptures we get from Proverbs is, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him. That's Solomon teaching and giving us wisdom. In chapter 22, verse number 17, listen to what he says. And again, this is the premise for these words I want to give you to live by tonight. Solomon says, incline your ear and hear the words of the wise and apply your heart to my knowledge. When he says incline your ear, what Solomon is suggesting that the reader who he is talking to as a student, and if you read Proverbs, you'll hear him talk about my child, or he makes reference to, or he writes as if he's talking to one individual and giving them game, if we could say. So he says here, I want you to incline your ear and hear. In other words, he says, I want you to pay attention. That word incline your ear to hear is the idea that I want you to get your mind focused on what I'm about to tell you. Get yourself in a position where there are no distractions, and give me your undivided attention so that you can hear what it is Solomon says what I'm about to say. Now, let me tell you something I've learned over these past summer months, that sometimes in order for us to give God our attention, there's some people, there's some practices we've got to just put on mute. I think I just saw a text earlier where Stacy was asking everybody to put their phones on mute. And when something is on mute, you cannot hear it. And a lot of times, I think, sisters, we are missing out on areas in our lives where we could see more fruit, areas in our lives where we can be more productive. But the challenge is, and I have it, trust me, you know, Bishop ain't gonna never teach at you. I'm talking to you. The challenge is we don't know how to put some things on mute. And Solomon says, if you're going to get what I need you to get, if you're going to really get the blessing from this, he said, I need you to get your attention. And I'm not just talking about like you guys now are getting, giving me your attention. I'm talking about make it a practice in life that the only stuff that gets your attention is the stuff that makes you better. Think about, y'all, think about this. Think about how many times we've messed up good days because we paid attention to something that didn't make us better. Let's think about that. Now, I can see some of y'all today. Let's think about that. I don't know, but let me go and be the first one, because I know, you know, since COVID, y'all been praying and fasting, and y'all and Jesus twins. Now, I got it. Y'all pray for your bishop. I got you. But there have been times, Stacey, there have been times, TT, when I've been having a good day and fool around there and spent too much time on Facebook and giving my attention. Now, why she put that on there? I know they're trying to say something, and all of that craziness goes through your mind. Why? Because you've given your attention to something that does not make you better. So that's what Solomon is saying. Solomon is saying, don't give your attention to stuff that's not going to make you better. And when I say make you better, I'm talking about, Dr. Roche, making you better holistically, mentally, right? Spiritually, physically. Give your attention to that. So that's the point Solomon making here. He says, give your attention to words of the wise. Now, stay with me now. The words of the wise here, wise comes from a Hebrew word, which means skill. What he is suggesting, Sharon, what Solomon is suggesting here is that you pay attention to the words that are spoken, and the person who's speaking them, you've seen those words work in their lives. Pay attention to the words, things that help you, that's going to make you better. And make sure you're hearing words, advice, instructions from somebody who what they are saying has worked for them. Example, I would go broke real fast if I tried to make a living selling hair products. If I advertise that I've got a product that can make your hair grow, not a man on the planet will buy it. And you know why he wouldn't buy it? A man, Kenya, on the planet wouldn't buy it, because I don't give any evidence that what I'm selling works. See, that's why I got to hang out with Dr. O'Shea, because she got plenty of money. She always talking about it. You see, you can always, you can always see that. When I think about people praying for me, and I think about me having other people to pray for others, there's some people who mind, there's some sisters, y'all, just come to my mind. I think about a Kathy Walker, who I know has a heart and is committed for prayer. Why? Because I've seen prayers work in her life. You don't want nobody praying for you that you don't see prayer working in their lives. So he's saying, stay with me, we're about to go somewhere now. He says, incline your ear to hear wise words. Pay attention to the stuff that helps you. And the stuff that you're paying attention to, you want to make sure that stuff is proven. That's why he closes out the verse, say, and apply your heart to my knowledge. With that being said, I want to give you 3 words that I've seen in my own life over the last several months make a change and change the whole, and I ain't gonna say change, that would be the wrong word for what I'm trying to describe. I can see a better future coming out of COVID than I did before going into COVID because of these 3 words. And I submit to you tonight, like Solomon says, I want you to pay attention, because these 3 words can cause your life to be better. And everyone on here tonight can relate to these three words. Here we go. The first word is capacity. Capacity. Now, here's a working definition for capacity, and we'll get in some scriptures. Capacity is the ability to carry out the assignment. Capacity is the ability to carry out the assignment. Now, whether you have come to embrace it, whether you are willing to recognize it and acknowledge it, every sister on this Zoom call has an assignment. Now, please just don't limit assignment because I'm your pastor and we in Bible study. Just don't think assignment as just ministry stuff. No. Assignment, an assignment can be a whole bunch of things. Assignment can be your career. Assignment can be your relationship. Your assignment can be your parenting. Your assignment can be how you handle your money. Your assignment can be how you deal with issues and challenges. Whatever it is you find yourself having to deal with, having to engage in, having to be involved in, if you're going to come out of this thing or have some words to pay attention to that are going to make you better, understand that you have been given capacity, that God has given you the ability to handle and to carry out every assignment that comes your way. You have capacity. Here's the challenge a lot of times. A lot of times we cannot truly embrace our capacity, oftentimes because we're trying through ambition to gain assignments that have not been assigned to us. Let me see if I can't say that again. Sometimes the challenge with this issue of capacity is that we do not always, or sometimes we have an ambition, a desire to handle an assignment that has not been assigned to us. I want you to go to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25. It's one of my favorite passages, parables that Jesus tells. But I want to share this with you. And I'm going to take these earpods out because they work in my nerves. I don't know why I put these time out. Can y'all hear me still? Okay. I want to share with you about this capacity, because I think one of the freeing things for me happened during COVID is I realized that part of my problem and why I kept hitting the brick wall in so many aspects is because I'm trying to accomplish assignments that haven't been assigned to me. Listen to what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 25, and I'll start reading at verse 14. For it would be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them his property. Verse 15. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1. This is the part I want you guys to pay attention to each according to his ability. Jesus tells the parable and says, this man who owned property distributed among his servants, and he gave it to them based upon their ability, which means he did not give the guy 2 talents who he knew could handle 5. And he didn't give the guy who could handle 1 talent, he didn't give him 2 talents. God gives us assignments. God gives us opportunities. God gives us, watch this, opens the door rather for us to do things based upon the ability that he's given us. I don't have the ability to lead a singing group. That's not my assignment. And a lot of times I think we confuse this mentality that, and I get the positiveness about it, but I think it brings confusion when we say you can do whatever you want. Well, you can in a sense
that you are a human being and you have freedom. But as it relates to a child of God, God has allotted in your life certain assignments. And sometimes we never embrace our capacity to the fullest because we're trying to use the ability he's given us for an assignment he has not assigned to us. Now, take an introspective look at your life and see what things God has given by way of skill set, by way of understanding, by way of ability. Look at those things that the capacity has given you and see what assignments have you been trying to use that ability or capacity to fulfill. Because when you have the capacity and you get and you understand the assignment, then there's always going to be productivity unless you're just lazy.
About kingdom women. That's what Bishop has been teaching us the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to do a quick review for those who didn't hear, or just to remind us of what it is